Hello, hello, family. How's everybody doing? I know my scene looks a little bit different right now. Excuse me. I am visiting family. Y'all told y'all a while back that I was going to go and visit some family members, and I had decided to do a live because I missed y'all. I am not going to allow myself to go that long without seeing y'all. So, how is everybody doing? So, once Pastor Kelly gets in here, we can get started. Let me see. I'm trying to set up my stuff over here. How's everybody doing? Y'all like my little view? I have a little light that's kind of helping me along the way. So, once he's available, I'm going to pull him into the conversation. Hold on. Hold on. Let me give him a few more minutes. Let me give him a few more minutes. Hold on. Pull the chat in. Hello, hello. All right. I think he's ready. He just came in. Hold on. Let me add him into the stream now. Hello, Pastor Kelly.
Hey, how's it going, Sista? How's it going, sis?
I think he's having a few technical difficulties. Hold on. Let me give him a second.
Testing 1, 2.
All right, family. Let me text him real quick and see what's going on. Hold on. I tried to catch him on instant. Hold on.
Testing 1, 2.
All right, family. All right, we can get started. I think everything is all good. So, Pastor Kelly, so we already know what's going on with you in this video. Has everybody seen Pastor Kelly's video first? And I know y'all have enjoyed it about Nick Cannon. So, first things first, Nick Cannon. My thoughts. I think that the brother is coming from a good place. And I think as a people, we should be a little bit more supportive of him. I think that in this awakening, all of us are in this awakening. We go through phases, and I think with his phase, it was a moment of wanting to speak a truth, but was not 100% prepared for the repercussions. And something I made mention to a while back when doing, when coming up with the truth and, speaking my truth, this man has a job. And what happened is he got caught up A lot of people, I say this to them. I said, I have a question. When you found out the truth of who you were, did you go to your manager and say, look, I'm an Israelite and my name is Bahashim, whatever your Israelite name is? Did you go and tell him that or no? Did you just sit in silence and learn? Not to say you're hiding anything, no. But I think you have to be wise in some of the things that you say and how you conduct yourself in this. Um, Even when us doing these YouTubes, we still have to be mindful that that people not necessarily people, because I really don't care what people say about me, but we're a representation of our families. And I'm a representation of Yah. So I have to be very mindful. I won't have any racist slurs come out of my mouth, because ultimately that's a sign of hate. It's not love. Am I unhappy about a system? Of course. Do I want to see the system change? Definitely. Do I believe we are the people? Most definitely. But even while the children in Israel were in Egypt, they knew how to conduct themselves. What are your thoughts, Pastor Kelly?
You hit it on the nail. I totally agree that I think that the way that the information was communicated, and also to take in consideration too, I didn't know that the video was actually done about a year and a half ago. So it's not a recent video, but it's about a year and a half when they actually recorded the video. But we do still have to be mindful of how we communicate the information. And for example, all of us, those that work a 9 to 5 or whatever, you still have to be being compliant with the company you work for. You have to be mindful of your actions, that your actions can get you removed from that job. Even social media, many don't realize that social media, whatever you post on Facebook, believe it or not, if it the company could let you go if they feel like or deem your messages, your posts is contrary to company policies. And many people don't truly understand that they actually, when they come onto a company and they go through that whole in processing, those are some of the things that come with the territory of making you aware of social media, and being careful of comments and things along that line. So even years ago, when I did the whole thing with I did a research and studies on young people just 10 years ago. That the studies that I came across was telling us, was saying that by year 2030, that the generations, most of them, going to need to change their names because of all the information or the posts that they're making on social media, that they're really not understanding that it's building what is called the internet or social media profile that companies can hold you accountable for. So in the case of Nick Cannon, he was an employee of Viacom, and so he had to be mindful of the information that he put out there. I think that the issue that really gave them room to run with is when he began to expound on the origins of Caucasians. When he started having a discussion about the melanin, and I think that's what really did him kind of like did him in, so to speak, is when he started dealing with that. The rule of thumb, what he should have done, let Professor Griff explain that portion of it. Because when you're having guests on there that that's going to draw attention to themselves, let them draw the attention, but he still, confirmed whatever he wanted to confirm. But I think that once he got into that portion of the video, the discussion, that's when it kind of put him in a place to where, so now you're dealing with a different demographic of people, and especially when you're bringing Hitler, for example, if Hitler enters into the discussion, and knowing that your boss, so to per se, is part of the Jewish community, right? As we know them, so that you're entering into a very sensitive area. So that's I think that hindsight 2020. I think that if he could do it all over again, I think he would have been more tactful with how he put the information out there. But at the same time, I think we've all been there before, that we've said something, even at work. Many of us had to make apologies at work for saying something or doing something that may have borderline going against company policies and offending someone. I've had to apologize. Does that make me less than? No, it's like, hey, if I know that I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I know that I may have offended someone, whether it's directly or indirectly, I'm going to take ownership. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just he's taking ownership by apologizing. Doesn't mean that he's selling himself out. And that's where I think the issue is with many, is that he said he's sorry. And well, is he saying he's sorry for saying that he's a Hebrew? No, he's never said that. What he apologized for is about, the information of bringing up things that can come across as being insensitive in terms of the Hitler discussion and the what you call it, the discussion about the melanin, in terms of Caucasians being deficient with melanin, that causes them to have more of a behavior, a reckless behavior. I think that that's what kind of really gave them room to go in. So,
And that's interesting that you brought that up. Hey, y'all. Let me see. My cousin, my family member has the walk past here. Hold on. All right, I'm back on. Um, the funny thing is this, and you brought up a great point. When we sign on to our jobs, the first thing you have to sign is a form stating, or a contract, and that's with any job, that you do not defame the company or utilize the company's name in anything that you do. So whatever company, for example, whatever company I work for, let's say I work for company X, and when I take on the job, I can't use or say anything about company X on my lives, because that's like a brand that I'm not allowed to utilize for good or bad. So we have to look at within these corporate constructs, if it be Hollywood, if it be corporate America, there is a code of ethics. And people don't realize that the children of Israel abided by the code of ethics within Egypt. As even the word of God says, you have to abide by the laws of the land while we're here. And that's the whole thing. Now, am I in agreement with what he said? Oh yes, I'm 100% in agreement with Nick Cannon. But Nick Cannon had to look at what he did and how he did it. And I can understand what he said. Now, a lot of people will say, Sister E, why are you agreeing with an apology? You signed an agreement, a contract. And when you sign a contract to it, if you are a believer and a follower of Hamashiach, you have to follow what you've agreed upon. And I think with that type of environment, when you agree upon certain things and you break them, you have to ultimately say, hey, my bad. Now, do I think that he should be true in who he is and say who he is? That's fine. You say who you are and you walk in your truth, but you have to do things in wisdom. Now, what I don't like is how our community is coming down on him and not supporting him, saying that, well, he should have stuck to his guts. He said what he said because what he said made such an impact in the Black community that even though he retracted his statement, he really can't retract it now, because people have been reaching out to people like myself, Pastor Kelly, other people asking questions. What is this? If it be a family member, if it be a friend, if it be someone, they are reaching out to us asking questions. So with that being said, is it wrong what he said? No, because it did do what the Most High Yah wanted it to be done. The word went out and people are being affected by it. And that's what I'm grateful for the most. But far as us dogging him out, we are supposed to stand behind him and support him, not talk about him talking about, well, he retracted his statement. People have to look at, that's his job. His job is acting, just like my job is project management. Pastor Kelly's job is this. All of us have jobs. Some make more money than others. The amount of money I make doesn't depict how close I walk with y'all. Y'all can use the poorest to the richest. It doesn't matter. And that's the biggest problem. People are looking at his checking account saying, and what he does is he's working for the people. Technically, every single one of us are tied to the system. If you work in corporate America, if you work in McDonald's, if you have a social security number, you're tied to the system. Now, how much he's tied to the system, we don't know. We can't always allow ourselves to fall into the thing of Illuminati or he's this, he's that. And you told me something, Pastor, recently about the Illuminati that made so much sense about, black people. So I yield. You can you kind of explain it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again so that way I'm clear on the question?
You remember when we were talking about the Illuminati and you mentioned that you know, if he put it like this, you remember you said we can't be a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
It was never designed for us. Um, and to throw him into that because he's a part of a system, all of us are tied to the system one way or another, wrong, white, or different. If you understand it, or if you're not, when you put your name on your birth certificate and was assigned a birth certificate, you are in the system. Your system is your name is identified by your social security number, not by your name. So if you want to disconnect the system, get rid of your social security number. You can't do it. So what are your thoughts on?
Well, when we start understanding about the Illuminati, fact of the matter is not a single Negro per se can be in the Illuminati. The Illuminati was started by a group in Bulgaria, the Illuminati of Bulgaria, and they were all elite, so to speak, white supremacists, basically. And regardless of how much money you have, you cannot be part of the Illuminati. Now you could be under their influence because they influence everything around. That's their goal. And Freemasonry is heavily influenced by them. But you cannot be, none of us, regardless of how much money we have, can be part of the Illuminati. And with Nick Cannon, and for me, this is where I take the good out of it as well, is the fact that the discussion went to a higher level. Nick Cannon is at a high level when it comes to executive producing. He did a lot of producing for Viacom, and it actually goes back to the late '90s, the early 2000s, the turn of this going into the millennium, when Viacom began to buy up the different things. I remember that there was a call, and when I say a call, a word went out of trying to encourage the people to stand their guns. It was a call going out to, for example, the owner of BET to hold his guns. You know, do not sell Viacom. And what did he do? He sold BET to Viacom. So that's why you see a lot of similarities between Viacom and MTV because they own both of it. Viacom began to buy up the distribution companies, the major distributors within the entertainment industry, within the music industry. They began to buy a lot of the major record labels. So he was absolutely right, Nick Cannon, when he was pointing out who runs the entertainment industry. And someone posted in the chat about him apologize. He said that he apologized for all the propaganda. No, if you really listen and read his statement, what he apologized was saying certain things that hurt of particular demographics of people. He didn't apologize for saying that he's a Hebrew Israelite. What he was apologizing for was bringing Hitler into the discussion when he began to talk about the aggressiveness of white America per se in regards to not just white America, but just their nature. But even then, for me, when you start thinking about the whole totality of Nick Cannon, the discussion is at another level. People are talking about it. You got people in the church talking about it, whether it's good or bad. Everyone is talking about it. He got the discussion to a higher level, And so the good that we take out of it is more people are talking about it. The bad, from a perspective of, is how we respond to it. You know, we know every single entertainer, especially from our community, when they said something, they got a lot of flack, not just from our community, right across the board. What happens? They apologize. They said that they was a little insensitive to other people. Matter of fact, what's his name? That played for uh, the New Orleans Saints, the quarterback. I think his name is Drew Brees or whatever. He just got into a situation about the Confederate flag, and he said something about, he don't agree with anyone disrespecting the flag. What happened? He got a lot of flack came on it. He apologized, and he said he'll just get, he'll get more up to speed. But he felt like he said he apologized for offending an entire group of people. So with that being said, I just believe that we as a people we have to do better when it comes to supporting our brothers and sisters that have taken the narrative to a whole nother level. Regardless of whether we agree with Nick Cannon or not, he brought the discussion to another level. He made it clear that he's a Hebrew Israelite, and he did not back down from it. So I want to encourage you guys to just look at it from that perspective. Let's love up on a brother. Let's not sit up here and start dragging them through the mud, doing the work that the people that own Viacom wants us to do. I mean, they literally shut down everything. His radio show shut down. His all the different programs that he had are shut down, and the people. It wasn't just him by himself. He had hundreds of people that was on payroll under those projects that he worked on. All of those things are shut down. So that's what I just think, when what my takes out of everything. And I think that when they made the discussion about anti-Semitism, and also just using the term Semitic and Semite, I think they should have given references, you know what I mean, to line up with their definitions, so that way it doesn't come across like they're just shooting a breeze and just throwing things out there without references. I think they should have went to, for example, the Oxford Dictionary. They should have went to, the etymology dictionary, the word, say, hey, this is what it says here. Let's talk about it. And I think that was the issue that I believe that they could have done better with how they communicated that information.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these comments in here, and I'm just kind of looking at it. And one of the things I do want to bring out, and everybody is mentioning that he apologized. And I said this to someone, and I don't know how they took it. I said, I've seen people who work a 9 to 5 apologize for smaller things. And sometimes people have apologized just to keep their jobs. So when we judge him, we got to look at everybody across the board. Um, and another thing that was brought to our attention is we need to unplug from the system. It's not us that's going to unplug us from the system, but it's going to be the Most High Yah that's going to unplug us from the system. If we do something prematurely, we're stepping outside of His will, and that ultimately leads us into an area where we're outside of His protection. So unplugging from the system is not going to solve anything. How are we supposed to minister and be a light if we're unplugging from the system and hiding? We have to function within the system and show people that we are the light. We are His light. We are walking in His will, living in His system. That's how people are going to really be able to see the Most High Yah in us. Unplugging from the system, I mean, the children of Israel never unplugged from the system. They stayed there until Moses came and it was time for them to leave. But it's not for us to unplug from anything. It's us to continually walk and be a light to the nation like y'all wanted us to be, and keep it moving. But unplugging from the system, it won't solve the problem. Because again, if you prematurely, and we've seen this happen throughout time, unplugging when it's not His will for you to unplug. When you unplug and you ain't doing the way you're supposed to be doing it, guess what? You're going to have to deal with the repercussions behind it. So unplugging from this system won't solve the problem, because when you look at it, the word really says that when Christ comes, he's gonna gather us from the four corners of the earth. It didn't say anything about us unplugging and running. So anything on that, Pastor? I digress.
And on that point of unplugging, as well as even going back with the Nick Cannon, one point I just want to make, and I answer the other question too, is we have to be the examples of love among our community. See, we've been programmed to truly love the enemy, those that really want to, or not want to, have raped and murdered and kidnapped us. But we treat our own brothers like an enemy. So when the Hebrew Israelite Messiah said to love our brothers and also love our enemies, pray for our enemies, in that text, actually, he's referring to the other tribes. It's just unfortunately it's transliterated into enemy. But when you read the law on that, he's referring to other tribes that are, people that are brothers and sisters that are not part of your immediate tribe. So let's just say if we're Judah, but he said, pray for those that are what? That are in the other tribes. Don't get so self-centered on what tribe you belong to. So we have to do better with that. And I use, for example, if we want to go into the Bible about it, Peter was a tough guy. Peter was outspoken. Peter, when the Most High, when the Hebrew Israelite Messiah said, asked the question, who do they see me? How do the people see me? And they told him how the people see him. Then he flipped it on them and say, how do you guys see me? What are you saying, basically, when you hear them say these things about me? Are you saying that I'm another prophet per se, like a lot of like Islam teaches about Christ? Or are you saying that I am the Son of the Most High? And Peter, out of all of them, said, thou art who? The Christ, the Son of the living God. He's saying, basically, he's saying that this is his response when he hear these things. The same when people are saying that he's another Elijah, another Jeremiah, those type of things. He's just a prophet per se. So what happened? Shortly after, you see Christ referring to him as Satan. He said, get behind me, Satan. But we couldn't even handle someone speaking to us like that, because if someone said to you, you're Satan, referring to your spirit that you operate in, many of us would be ready to fight, saying, don't you call me Satan, but you still what, ready to tear stuff up under the spirit of Satan. So when we understand that, right, Peter went on, told Christ how he was going to be by his side. And Christ said to him, hey, you're going to deny me. And what happened? Peter said, no, you know how many of us, come on, I just got to take it to the streets, where I grew up at. I'm sure many of you guys heard that before. Man, if anything happened, I got your back. We just got to do what we got to do. And then when something happened, what happens? People run, right? So after Peter denied him, and Peter didn't just deny him, Peter was cursing people out to the point that they said, you know what? Even though we don't agree, we're about to crucify your Hebrew Israelite Messiah. But guess what? We know that he would not have spoken. He would not have exhibited the behaviors that you're putting on display right now. Peter cursed them out. And then what happened? We see later on, after everything was all said and done, Christ was crucified or lynched, raised up from the dead again. Now he's going back to talk to his disciples, and what's going on. Now it said his disciple whom he loved. He had to literally take him through the process again, because Peter resorted back to the very thing that he was delivered from. Came out of fishing, now he's fishing again. So how did he handle him? He cooked them breakfast, all of them, and then he began to what? Teach them. He said, hey, if you love me, feed my sheep. So now all the denials that he put out there, because he put words of death out there, now he had to force Peter to do what? Speak life, to undo those dead things he put out there. But how did he handle him? With love. That's how we have to understand. We have to love our people the same way. All right. We have to be able to love up on each other, and then internally address whatever issues we need to handle internally. Christ didn't go and said, no, Peter, let's go before those people and then start calling them out in front of the people. Hey, these the same people you denied me in front of? No, no, we don't. He didn't do all of that like we're doing. All right. And to the other point that you pointed out, coming off the grid, no matter what we try to do, it is impossible to come off the grid in somebody else's nation. You can't even, in the conscious community, you had Brother Polite and some of those guys dealing with this whole sovereignty nonsense of selling a dream to people that you can become your own nation within a nation. That's a lie. And they sold that dream to a lot of people who got hustled by it. So I'm saying all that to say is no matter what, you're still going to be connected to the system unless we're in our own territory. When I say territory, we're in our own property, our own land that is ours with our own language, with our own families, and our own what? Again, territories. Those are the pillars for what constitutes a nation to being a nation: land, family, and tongues. So we're still connected. Those that say that, hey, you're not going to take your child to public school and you're going to homeschool them. Guess what? You're still connected to the system, because if your child do not perform at the end of that year that you training them in, if they do not hit that baseline, you're going to get in trouble. If you buy a piece of property and you call yourself isolating, you still have to pay taxes on that property, or they're coming to do what? Coming to take that property. So we're still connected to the system. We still have to function. We still have to do all of those different things. So guess what? Until he comes back, guess what? I'm still going to be at work. I'm cool. I'm still going to be at the job. I'm still going to be doing the things that I need to do. It's no problem for me to say, hey, all right, man, the sky's cracking. Christ is coming. Guess what? I'm just walking off the job. It's not hard for me to do that. But we still have to function in the midst of waiting. When we wait on the Most High, it doesn't mean to stop functioning. It means to continue to operate. Moses understood the system. Joseph was connected to the system. Daniel was connected to the system. Esther, we could go right down the list. They were connected to the system, and they had to do certain things to navigate, to do what? To put our people in a better position, a better place, and a better position.
An interesting part, you brought up Esther. Esther was so intertwined in the system. She could have easily went in there and just wrecked shop. You're not gonna touch my people, and just I'm the people. She could have did it wrong, but how she handled it with wisdom. And we have to be wise as serpent and gentle as doves. No one is saying, and I see a couple of people in the chat saying, so it's our fault. Nobody is saying it's not black people's fault. It's not our fault that we're in the position that we're in. What we're ultimately saying is Yah will fight our battles. There are going to be people who are going to say things and going to retract. When you first came into the truth, I want to ask everybody this question. Did you go into your manager's office and say, we Israel? Plain and simple, end of discussion. We Israel. And I want my reparation. And did anybody go in their manager's offices and do that? Did you and some people, and I was saying this to someone, and I'm not speaking against people who do change their names and have aliases. I have no problem with that. But I see a lot of us have aliases on Facebook, Ben whatever name, Israel, Yah Israel, whatever, you go by, which is cool. But I said, if you're really, really walking in the truth, when you filled out your job application, did you change your name to your Hebrew name? You changed it to? No, you went right back to that government name. And again, nobody is saying that the government is right. No. And the way they're treating us, no. But the one that is going to fight our battles is Yah. This battle is not ours to fight. And what we're trying to say is, as the people of Yah that we say that we are, the way we're mistreating our brother in the midst of this, I don't care if he is, because everybody's like, what? Just like he said it and he retracted. Are we giving him that same love? Even though people are saying, well, he's not fully Israelite, he believes this, he believes that. A lot of us were confused at the beginning. A lot of us had to come into some understanding and grow in the knowledge. What we need to do as believers and the people of the truth is to pray for him. Because guess what? Not one white person, one Jew ain't had to say nothing about Nick Cannon. Because guess what? We've drug him through the mud. So they're sitting back and they're watching. And then too, since we believe in Illuminati and all these things, do y'all realize possibly if that was the case, we don't know what else is going on behind the scenes. They may have his children and say, if you don't do this, we're going to do this to you. Because we already know this system. If you don't do what you say they want you to do, you come up missing sometimes. You just don't know what was put in front of him to make him do what he did. But again, we have to stand. We can't drag him through the mud like that. Because they don't drag each other through the mud. Right, wrong, or indifferent. They got each other's back 110%. I don't care. And they may argue behind the scenes, but we will never see it. But Nick Cannon, they did not have to say anything because our people crucified him. And they just sat and they watched. They said, we don't have to say a word. They're going to crucify each other. They're going to talk about each other.
And can I say something to that? And that's a great point. That's the issue that we have. Someone pointed out how our people in the 60s were bashing Martin Luther King, were bashing Malcolm X. Exactly. Exactly. We had that going on back then. Even back then, Muhammad Ali in the 70s spoke up about going to Vietnam. He said, no Vietnamese have called me the N-word, right? And he sacrificed his career because at the height of his career, for 5 years, he did not fight at all. He could not get a fight. But what was our people still doing in the process? Still watching boxing. They were still watching Joe Frazier. They were still watching boxing while he was broke on the side, literally. And then what happened? Once everything got lifted, the government ruled in his favor, then everyone started jumping on his side. But no one during that time reached out and said, hey, let's make sure that he's financially secure. Even some of our own people started bashing him about his stance of not being American because he chose not to go to Vietnam. That's a fact, right? And we see the same thing with Kaepernick, right? Kaepernick sacrificed his career, took a knee, and what happened? Many of our people are still watching football. Many of our people still was watching football, even knowing how they treated Kaepernick. Kaepernick didn't compromise, but yet we're still dogging out Nick Cannon. But Kaepernick did not compromise, but yet we're still wearing football jerseys. Some of you guys wearing Washington Redskin jerseys and saying you're a Washington Redskin fan and don't even realize that you've been duped. You got the Native Americans who came together and stayed consistent. So when the time came, guess what? This is the right time. Like, you know what? Why everything's going on? You know what? We're going to bring up the Redskins name again, and we're going to make sure that name gets changed. What's happening right now? The Redskins name is being changed, right? But most of our people, right, football fans, many of you guys are New Orleans Saints fans, and their logo, their emblem is the fleur-de-lis. How many of our people come together and say, hey, we want to do away with this fleur-de-lis? Because the swastika per se is supposed to be what, like the image of the Holocaust, the image of death among the Jewish community. But then we have what, the fleur-de-lis, that is the image of death among our people that was used as a mark to brand our people, to cut the hamstrings of our people, to cut the neck of our people, to castrate our people. It was used as an emblem of punishment, you name it. But none of us are talking about that. But our conversations about Nick Cannon apologizing, not anything else, but Nick Cannon apologizing. That's why I get kind of frustrated, because when we look at it in its totality, we're still majoring in the minors. Right now, we should be rallying together and say, you know what, let's talk about Max Kellerman. All of us should have been contacting the ESPN by saying, wait a minute, you telling me that it's impossible for us to be a Semite. When I see the definition of being Semitic, it's saying what? You see the word Afro-Asiatic. So now you're telling me that we cannot, we the Negroes, not other Negroes around the world, but these particular Negroes in the United States, we can't be Afro-Asiatic. Before you know it, like I said yesterday in our assembly, they're going 30 years from now, they're going to say that they're black and we're white. That's the way that things are going right now. That's the way things are going. Now we're not even battling that. We're fighting it against our own, but we're not fighting against Max Kellerman, who said that any Negro that says that they are Semitic, guess what, are dealing with low quality information. He called us mysticism. He said that we are lunatics. So we continue to allow them to what? Take an inch, give them an inch, and they're taking a yard. Right now, they're telling us basically that we are not Afro-Asiatic. And Afro-Asiatic is what? Starting with the languages. You have Proto-Indo-European, which is what their languages, but the Proto-Afro-Asiatic languages consist of what? As me and Sister was talking about this, Hamitic people and Shemitic people. Both are still what? In Africa. And when you see Afro-Asiatic, it's referring to the territory that they now call the Middle East, which was really Northeast Africa. So the more and more we keep majoring in the minors, they steady pushing that barometer. They still steady pushing that barometer. So that's where it is. How come they didn't say, hey, let's give the proper definition of Semitic? What's Semitic? Do you know some of you guys already taken your DNA test and it came back saying that you are a descendant, let's just say, of Igbo? Because I see a lot of Bantu languages up in here. Igbo is still considered Bantu. Limba is still considered Bantu. Dahomies are considered Bantus. So we see right here, I see some of you guys putting that in which you're greeting of Salama. But guess what? That means that if you are part of these groups, you are what? Semitic. You could prove that you're Shemitic or Semitic. How come we're not putting the pressure on the ADL that says that they protect what? Anti-Semitism. Right. Well, guess what? I'm Bantu Limba. So now guess what? If the urban apologists, and I put that on one of their posts, I could technically raise flags against those guys because of anti-Semitism, because it's proven that the Limbas are descendants of the ancient Israelites. You see, we got to start again, when we get out of this minor stuff of beating each other up, we'll start seeing a bigger picture, and we can literally take their things and flip it back on them. And I know some of you guys may say about the DNA, oh, I don't want to take the DNA. Do you know they already have your DNA? They had your DNA since you was born. They already have your DNA. So don't even play into that narrative. Every time you go to the doctor's office, especially going for a checkup, what do? They take your blood samples. They have your DNA, they have your fingerprints, they have all of that about you. So don't move, don't let them continue to move the needle. And that's what's happening right now. They're using Nick Cannon as a whipping boy to say, look, we got you. You can't, say something now. Look, guys, we got Nick Cannon. Look at the example that we're making out of him. See, look, your own people won't even come to his defense and say, hey, you know what? Even though I may not agree with him, but I'm going to stand my ground with him. We got the conscious community. I just saw on Sinetta a couple of days ago saying that, hey, regardless, he may not believe in the Bible, but he's not going to leave this is what he said. I'm not going to leave our brother, Nick Cannon, out there because he's right. Now, that's some people that don't believe. So we have to get back to the basics and understanding why are we doing what we're doing? Why?
And I heard Major say this, and it made so much sense. Peter denied Christ. Did Christ and them kick Peter off and say, we're done with you, Peter? Nope. When Peter came to the realization of what he did, and after the crucifixion and the resurrection of Hamashiach, guess what? Peter was still a part of the fold. He denied Christ right in his face. And that's the ultimate denial right there. But did the disciples reject Peter? No, they still came to Peter's defense and protected Peter. Christ, when Hamashiach came back, he still dealt with Peter. If Christ can show grace and we're supposed to be like Christ, aren't we supposed to show the same grace to our brother? Again, Pastor Kelly made a great point. I might not agree with what he did. But you never know what that person is in, what position they're in, what fear they're dealing with, because we have a tendency to put these celebrities on a pedestal and don't realize they're human too. Who's to say one day Sister E won't make a mistake? Will y'all crucify me? That's the question. I'm gonna make a mistake. I'm a human. Pastor Kelly's gonna make a mistake. All of us are gonna make mistakes, but realize that he's still human. And we still have to show the same grace to our brother as we would anybody else. Because half of y'all done forgave that. I ain't gonna say y'all in my chat. Some folks done forgave that very boss that didn't fire them, and or either done them wrong, or coworker that has done them wrong at work, and they don't look like us. Some folks have, or that individual. But we have to give each other that same grace. Because again, the Jews ain't had to say nothing about Nick Cannon. The whites haven't had to say anything about Nick Cannon. Because guess what? They own folks gonna come for him. He ain't got to say, we don't have to say one word, because they're going to crucify this man and they're going to shut up, and they're going to shut him up. And just think, maybe corralling behind him maybe would have gave him that extra level of courage he needed to say, I got my folk. But because we turned on him, he didn't have nowhere else to turn. You got one side of the industry coming at him, then his own folks coming for him. It's a wonder he. But we do each other like that. We do each other like that. We will crucify each other, but we don't know how. Thank you. Kyrus made a great point. Stay on code. Boycott the music industry, the movie industry. How many of y'all got Netflix accounts? And what's her name? The actress. She talked about how blacks are not being paid equally as the white actors. The comedian, whatever. I can't remember her name.
What's her name? And she actually just won a major ruling in the courts. What's her name? She played on that movie Precious, the mother.
Yes, she played in the movie Precious. I can't remember.
What's her name? I can't think of her name. I know you referring to.
But yeah, I mean, we don't know how to stay on code. So yeah, Monique. And again, family, some of y'all might unsubscribe to me after I do this, because we don't know how to stay on code with each other. Because again, I one thing I will say about the community, when they create a YouTube page, everybody's gonna support each other and subscribe to them. It's another community. If they do a YouTube page, they support each other 110%, wrong, right, or indifferent. But because I'm not just saying within the Israelite community, because the Christian community was coming at them just as hard.
That's right.
So I'm talking about the Black family as a whole. We don't know how to come together. But I promise you, I saw a debate between, and I always bring this up, a debate between, was it Dr. Brown and a rabbi? They had two different belief systems. But guess what? They did not slander each other. They came together, had a discussion, not a debate, not an insult match, insult contest or a screaming match. They had a debate. They had a discussion, not a debate. And the rabbi said, because actually the rabbi was speaking against the New Testament, Dr. Brown was fighting for the New Testament. But you know what the rabbi says? When we get done, guess what? We're going to go to dinner tonight. Ask yourself, some Israelites who debate can't even walk to the same, they can't even walk up the same set of steps without ready to fight and choke each other. Not to mention the apologetic community. We crucify, and this is for all of us, not just the Israelite community. And I hope that some of the people in the apologetic community listens to this as well. We crucify each other. We don't have to attack the woke church movement because some of us are gonna come at it. And the woke church movement don't have to I ain't gonna say us, but white people don't have to come for the woke church movement because we all arguing with each other, just like with the Israelite community. We don't know how to come together and say we have some differences, but let's collectively come together and work it out. We're gonna crucify each other. This is why I'm at the point I'm like, Hamashiach has to come back because my own folk, y'all, come on. We got to do better. Any thoughts?
And even to your point, because I'm seeing in the comments here where I saw a couple of comments that saying that they're not going to defend Nick Cannon or anything like that. I'll just say this, and this is just basic things that I learned growing up, and all of us grew up with someone at least I hope that those from my generation can relate to what I'm saying. The way that I was raised, that if me and my brothers had beef with each other, problems with each other, we fought each other inside the house. We got in trouble for even thinking about fighting each other out in the streets. Whether I agree with my brother or not, and vice versa, we never fought each other in the streets. We handled that thing behind closed doors. I done been in situations. I had a younger brother that always started fights. My baby brother, every time you turn around, he'll have a time. Here come my brother Kelly now. And before you know it, I have to take up for him and he run. While I'm left there fighting for him. I got a mark on my nose, right? It's in my nose. You probably can see it here. That mark right there, right? That came from me taking up for my baby brother. And I got jumped, fought two guys by myself. And one of them dug his nails into my face while I was on top of top of his friend. And guess what? My brother ran home. I was upset, heated. You know how my grandmother handled that? Told me and my brother, told me, hey, deal with it internally. She told her Uncle Butch get the boxing gloves, and she told us to box. We handled it there. We did not handle it in front of the people. See, we have to get out of this thing of long as it doesn't come up on my doorstep, it's still coming up on your doorstep. If you let things to come into your community, it's coming up on your doorstep. Nick Cannon is still part of our family. He's part of our community. I'm not just defending Nick Cannon. I'm defending the cause. Because if we leave him hung out there dry, guess what? They're going to continue to go further and go further with seeing how far they could go with their agenda. They're going to keep going further. They're going to keep going further. There you go. They fight against Deshaun Jackson. They fight against what's his name? Nick Cannon now. Now we done moved the barometer. They still didn't address. They're not even addressing the true issue. Our Negroes, Semites, our Negroes Afro-Asiatic. They're not addressing that. They talking about Nick Cannon selling out, calling him a sellout and all of this stuff, but they still didn't address the big issue. So we got them, we got Nick Cannon being discouraged. He's suicidal now because his own people are calling him a sellout. We don't even have to call him names. They're doing it for us, self-check. Now see, y'all don't understand community. Community is, guess what? We're not going to let anyone come into our community and deal with our people, whether they're right or wrong. We'll deal with our people. You can see that's biblical principles. Look, that teacher better not put their hands on my daughter. If my daughter's wrong, hey, bring it to my attention, and I'm going to deal with my daughter at home. I'm not going to deal with her in front of people so that way they can start doing the same thing. Teaching my daughter or teaching the behavior or believing that, hey, the parents do this publicly, then they can do it publicly. So I'm saying all that to say, guys, we're not trying to convince you to defend Nick Cannon. We're trying to tell you to learn how to defend your people as a whole. See the bigger picture of kingdom, not individual. Because now, as you see, they're still going in on our community. Look at how they're doing that. Sister E pointed out. Look at the urban apologists, right? Look at how, and I don't mean to bring them into this discussion, but look at the vocab Malones and all those guys. They are what? Building their whole platform at attacking our people. And guess what? We still letting them do it. We're allowing them to do that because we're so divided among ourselves. You got the Christian brothers and sisters that's among our community allowing this to happen. See, when I grew up, regardless, we were not letting anyone pick on any of our family or anyone that lived in our project building, anyone that lived in our projects, anyone that lived on our block. We were not going to let that happen. That's the difference between being kingdom minded versus empire driven. And most of us are empire driven. In other words, we all about self. And so empires have a expiration date. But when you are kingdom minded, then you understand all of us are part of that kingdom. So if one person hurt, we all are hurt. When Nick Cannon put that post up saying that, hey, you know what? He hurt a whole group of people, but what hurts him the most is that his own people is calling him a sellout. I've been called to sell out because of what? Me standing on righteousness. I've been called all kinds of names. I've had death threats from the Black Lives Matter. You guys don't know. I'm pretty confident that he has death threats on his life. What happens if he take his life right now because of the pressure? How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel right now? We all should be bad, feel bad. Why? Because that is our brother. Regardless of whether we agree with him or disagree with him, we could deal with that internally. But as a unified front, we're not going to let anyone come into our community talking about bamming on our relatives, do our family members' door, and take that person out and do whatever they want. And we're going to keep our doors closed and allow that to happen. Guess what? That next door could be your door.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I do agree. And family, that was the whole purpose of the conversation today because we all don't have to agree. Like right now, people who normally agree with me probably are like, well, some people are probably like, look, Sister Eden lost her mind. And guess what? That's fine. Let's go back to business as usual. Because again, you will never 100% agree with me, and I will never 100% agree with you. I'll never 100% agree with Pastor. The same thing with me. But again, we have to learn how to function as a unit and function as one and stop fighting amongst each other in front of the company. That's how I see it. Stop arguing with everybody in front of company. Stop letting the neighbors see our problems. Learn how to internalize issues. I mean, not one person realized you don't know why he did what he did. You don't know what circumstances he was in to make him say, I apologize. You don't know if he had a, a friend that was possibly Jewish. And he probably said, hey, I wasn't talking directly to you. I was talking about a system, just like me. I talk about white supremacy. Now, I have white friends, but white supremacy is my problem, not white people. So if one of my white friends heard me speaking about white supremacy, I would say, hey, I didn't mean it to say you think like that. I'm speaking of a system. Now, if you took it like that, please don't take it like that because I know you're not operating in that. But if you're operating in that, yes, I'm speaking to you. And sometimes you have to straighten things up with people that may not understand. And I'm not saying the people that he's straightening things up were good. No, I really believe that it's a bit deeper than what we think. You don't know if they have this man's kids on pictures of him with a gun to the head. You don't know what happened. But yet, it's still we're ready to crucify him. And some people are crucifying him, and not say y'all family because I know y'all don't think like that. But some people are crucifying this man because of jealousy. Because if it was not for the money, he was making probably the same thing some of us were making, y'all would have a little bit more understanding. But because he is in the limelight and he makes money, he's automatically a part of the system. He's a part of the Illuminati. It's a code we have to abide by, and don't realize every single person, all of us, white, black, green, we're all tied to the system. You're born into a system. You come with a social security number. You come with all this stuff. We all are tied to the system. But the way we will shine is how we operate in this system. Do I operate in righteousness or unrighteousness? Will I walk in the truth of the Most High God and be a light to the nation, or will I be a stumbling block for my people? So that's all I'm saying. Again, I'm not 100% saying that I agree that he should have apologized to a point. No, but I just don't know the circumstances to make a call like I have and to start insulting the brother the way some people have been doing. I have seen more coons that wasn't, and I know Pastor don't like the word coons, that were not celebrities and were just normal employees for a corporation than I have. Come on, we got to stop doing that. We got to stop doing that. So this man, he's left out to dry right now, the way we've treated him. And the Jewish and white community can do whatever they want to him because we left him out there. So I digress. So, family, I hope you all have enjoyed the show. Um, do you have any last words, Pastor?
Yeah. Um, just want to tell everyone to be encouraged. And then again, we're not, um, how can I put it? We're not trying to justify everyone, all of what someone's behavior, because I don't know all the gist of the ins and outs of the statements that came out with Nick Cannon afterwards. I just don't know. But I'm going to stand by my brother regardless. Publicly, I'm not going to go against him. I may not support all what, let's just say, Professor Griff have said, but I'm not going to embarrass him publicly. It's quite a few people that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to insult them publicly. Now, you guys know me. Only time I would take something public is when someone take me public and try to embarrass me. Then I have to take it to a public level because now that person is going beyond. Now that person is really attacking my integrity, attacking my family and the things that I stand for with, and that's standing for our people. So I just want to encourage you guys. Let's do better. Let's take the narrative away from being, the thing of that overtone of being a sellout and all of that, and take the tone back to where it needs to be. What are you trying to say, Max? What are you trying to say? Those that are speaking against this, saying that, using that term Semitic, are you saying that, we Negroes or whatever, melanated people here in the country, you saying that it's impossible for us to be Semites? Are you saying that we should not be? It's impossible for us to be, let's just say, aboriginal to the Israel territory, the Northeast territory. We need to take the narrative back there. And if all of us are talking about those things, what could they say? Because now that's going to force them to bring the narrative back. That's when we should be asking the question, okay, well, you're saying that it's impossible for us to be a Semite. Can you tell me what the definition is? All right, well, you know what? I just saw my DNA. My DNA came up this right here. So if the Bantus are, the Bantu members are Israelites, if these people are Israelites, matter of fact, the Ethiopian Jews, they are Israelites, then okay, so are they Semitic or are they non-Semitic? Can you give me clarity? Take the narrative back there and take it away from us fighting and beating up on each other. Let's get the narrative back to that question, answering those questions, having those discussions, because they just flipped the script on us and now they have us fighting each other again. So I just want to tell you guys, be encouraged, be encouraged. So,
Well, family, I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this conversation. I know this was fairly quick, but I did want to address this to everyone because it needed to be addressed. And with that being said, hold on. I have a little treat for the family. Look who's with me. Oh, wow. So this is the family member I came to visit. Y'all see my bro in the back? Hold on. That's my bro right there. We've had a ball.
What's up, family? We didn't want to tell you guys that she's here visiting the family and everything. So we want to surprise you guys. So she's out here in Virginia. She's at my family's house. So we just doing a live stream here. So peace and blessings. And my wife, she's in the other room or whatever. She just walked in. So that's why you see us going muting, and she's muting hers out. I'm muting mine out. So that way you guys won't catch on to that we're doing this live together. So actually, I was sitting on the other side of my desk, and she's sitting on the other side. So to make it look like we're in two different locations. So we're actually in the same office. We sit in the same desk. my junky office,
It is not
and we
junky.
just wanted to just do a live with you guys to let you know that we all in this together.
Yep.
All right, so
Yep.
yeah, so we doing this live together. She's at the house, and if I could call my wife in here to say hello, she probably gonna watch this. What is
Man, I'm not. I'm gonna run. I'm scared. No, I'm just joking. Man, when I tell y'all, family, this is family. This is what you do. I've been here all weekend. I've been visiting Virginia, and when I say me and Kelly, we've had our moments, but that's still my brother. And and the same thing, I'm still his sis. I'm trying to see if and like I said, this is a loving, wonderful family.
she
Okay, so
she occupied. So
but I just want to let y'all know this is what family does. We have to come together like this. We have to. Any last words before I shut it down?
let's see. Peace.
And shalom, family. Thank you and good evening, night. My times are thrown off. All right, family.